Peace, family. It's your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. Welcome to Night School. Every night here on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel, we hold Night School, where we break down the most important topics, the most interesting conversations, the most compelling debates going on in the world today. And tonight, of course, is no different. Shout out to everybody who is a longtime member of the Night School community. If you're part of the Night School class tonight, hit present. Go in the chat room right now. Go in the chat well, I should say, and type the word present so we know that you're here. Shout out to everybody who's been here for a long time, but also welcome to the new members of the class. It's good to see all of you here. Again, every night we go and we break stuff down. It is not cable news. It is not light talking points, cheap political theater. It is not drive-by analysis. The whole idea of Night School is that we gonna break down this stuff in depth, with rigor, with nuance, with historical context, whatever it takes to make sure this thing is understood. And so that's what we're going to do. Tonight is a big night. It's Monday night, by the way. I hope everyone had a great weekend. I certainly had a great weekend. I spent the weekend writing, finishing a book project, an anthology that will be coming out soon for the children of Gaza that I'm doing with my dear mentor, Haki Matabuti. I hope everyone had a great weekend. It's been a weekend of really fascinating political developments. Of course, the big news all around the country is Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, and who her vice presidential choice is going to be. Who does Kamala Harris decide is going to be her choice? Over the weekend, there was a lot of debate about it. Of course, I appeared on Democracy Now! With my good friend Amy Goodman, and on Friday, and I spoke about what it would mean for Kamala Harris to choose different people. Of course, Josh Shapiro is a name that was at the top of the list, and from what I'm hearing, he's a finalist. It's between Governor Shapiro in Pennsylvania, and Governor Walz in Minnesota. And people got mad at me. Liberals got mad at me. They were very upset because I had the audacity, I had the unmitigated gall to actually say that if she chooses Shapiro, it will be a bad choice. And we know why it would be a bad choice. Josh Shapiro has made questionable decisions on school vouchers. He's made questionable decisions on fracking, questionable decisions on environmental justice more broadly. He has been the least reasonable on the question of Israel-Palestine. That says a lot in this country. He has, sort of policed the speech of his of state employees. When he was Attorney General, he wanted to punish people for engaging in BDS. Think about the Ben and Jerry's boycott in particular. And so I said, hey, Shapiro ain't it. You're going to alienate progressive voters. There's a whole generation of young people who are engaged in activism and organizing for the first time. And some of them have done it on campus protests. And to know that Josh Shapiro is the person you choose is going to deflate them. It's going to deflate them. It's not because Josh Shapiro is so much worse than everybody else. He's not. It's not that Josh Shapiro has a far more radical position than everybody else. He doesn't. It's not that Josh Shapiro is deserving of some extra scrutiny, because he doesn't, but what Josh Shapiro deserves is a fair shake, a fair analysis. But at the end of the day, I think there are better candidates if you're trying to bring in a progressive coalition, and if you want to energize the base, and you want to bring in new voters, and you want to do all these things. You got to do better. Now, I understand no candidate is going to be perfect. I'm not asking Kamala Harris to pick the person I would want her to pick. I'm just saying this is an unforced error if you choose Josh Shapiro. I think it's going to be more harm than good. So that would be my concern. I'm not saying that my voting decision is going to be made one way or the other based on that outcome, But I want to apply pressure from the beginning. I want to apply pressure now so that they don't make the bad choice. So they need to know that, yeah, you might win Pennsylvania, but you might lose Michigan. So I'm hoping, assuming that that the two choices right now are Tim Walz and Josh Shapiro. I'm hoping Tim Walz is the choice. Um, Tim Walz, I think, is just a better choice. I think he's more progressive. I think he has a more principled position. I think he has less baggage and more experience. I mean, he's just a better choice. And so, again, people have to make the decisions that they want to make, but I think that it's by far a better choice. So we'll find out tomorrow. Right now, it's Monday night. We've seen a motorcade in front of Governor Walz's home that looked like some Secret Service. Now we all guessing, but it looked like Secret Service in front of the crib. That is a sign of something. There's a lot of movement in front of the house. That's a sign of something. Now, last week, the mayor of Philadelphia was saying, she wanted to congratulate, Vice President Harris and Governor Josh Shapiro on their new ticket. It felt like a leak to some people. It wasn't a leak. Philly ain't got that kind of juice. Philly mayor don't got that kind of juice. I love for my city. I'm just saying, I don't think that they got the inside scoop. I don't think there is an inside scoop. I think that Kamala Harris is making her decision right now. I think she's made her decision in the last 8 hours. As of yesterday, she had not made a decision. So, again, I think that is a good thing. I think it's a great thing, actually. I think it puts us in a position to say that we could influence the outcome. We could leverage something. I think that's a good thing. That's all I can tell you. I think that that's a good thing. So we'll see what happens. At the end of the day, we'll see what happens. But whatever happens tomorrow, we gotta pick up where we dust ourselves off and figure out how we can do the work that needs to be done. And the work that needs to be done is stopping Donald Trump from being president. To me, that's the most important thing. That's the thing that has to happen. But let's not make our work harder than it needs to be. Anyway, y'all, let's keep going because we didn't even got to the first story yet. That was just the introduction. Let's talk about the Middle East for a moment because it's directly related to the United States. This weekend has been wild. Anyway, President Biden and Vice President Harris met in the Situation Room today with national security officials. The reason? Well, because an Iranian strike on Israel, again, an Iranian strike on Israel is pretty much all but certain. Iran vowed to retaliate following the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh, who is a top Hamas political leader. It was unavoidable when you assassinate one of the leaders of Hamas that there's going to be a response. Well, the United States and G7 members are urging Iran to limit its attack in an effort to avoid an all-out war in the region. Now, I'm going to say that again. They're telling them to limit the attack. You can't expect Iran not to retaliate. That is an unrealistic, immature, unsophisticated analysis and/or expectation if you think that's going to happen. So all you can do is ask Iran to have more targeted strikes in response. Again, I'm not endorsing war in general, but I am saying people have a right to self-defense. People have a right to respond. Iran's foreign ministry told reporters today that it does not wish to deepen tensions, but that it has a right to punish Israel within the bounds of international law. Notice how other countries appeal to international law. They don't just be up here doing stuff. You know what I'm saying? They don't just be up here doing stuff. They actually follow international law. It's a thing. And I wish more international law adherence would happen from the United States and from Israel, but it ain't happening. Let's say, just for argument's sake, though, that if Iran does extend beyond the scope or the boundaries of international law, you will see a full-scale regional war. If Israel retaliates again and they go tit for tat, you're going to see full-scale regional war. The question is, will the United States come to Israel's defense again? There are reports that President Biden is fuming right now after realizing that the hostage deal talks were actually just a stalling tactic. Literally just a stalling tactic. All the stuff about we're going to trade our hostages, we're going to make this exchange, we're going to, produce peace. All of that was Netanyahu just biding time, filibustering, so that he could continue to carry out his genocidal war in Gaza. So Joe Biden right now is very, very angry, allegedly. The problem is Joe Biden being angry doesn't mean a whole lot. And this is happening against the backdrop, by the way, of protests in Israel. Israeli citizens are taking to the streets. They are accusing Netanyahu of choosing escalation over the hostage deal. So you have Biden who's mad. You have the Israeli citizenry that's mad. You have people all around the world saying, why are you ratcheting up military aggression? Why are you ratcheting up war? Why are you beating the war drums right now, Netanyahu, when you could be actually securing hostages, which satisfies your home base, which also would allow for a permanent ceasefire, would allow for the creation of a peace deal. But he's not doing that because Netanyahu, let's be clear, Benjamin Netanyahu does not remain prime minister during a time of peace. Benjamin Netanyahu becomes disposable once there's a peace deal. So Benjamin Netanyahu wants, for sure, there to be permanent war. And so that's why, right at a moment where it seemed like they might be striking a deal, right? Qatar, Egypt, the United States, they were all brokering a deal. He starts getting closer to peace. He invades Rafah. Next thing you know, evacuation orders in Nusrat in Gaza City. To what extent? More bombing. Peace deal coming. Oh, Ismail Haniyeh is now a target. At every moment where it seems like Netanyahu can create peace, he creates more turmoil because he wants to stay in a state of war so that he can remain prime minister. Because once he's not at war, he's probably not prime minister. And once he's not prime minister, he might be locked up. They won't let him out. So you can understand why your boy is doing that. Joe Biden is in a position where he was trying to show unwavering support of Israel, which of course is a fool, and unethical and deeply immoral. Joe Biden is doing what U.S. presidents do. They're showing that they have not an inch of daylight between the United States and Israel. So he's like, bro, I'm trying to have your back, but you keep wilding. I had a homie like that in college. His name was Wally. Every time we went to the club, Wally wanted to fight. And we was all from Philly, so we'd all fight. If you went out, I didn't even want to fight at some point, right? It was like, yo, but like we outside, like, and he fighting, we fighting, right? Because we all together. So at some point, it's like, I can't go to the club with you, homie, because the boy every time we go out, he want to fight. We end up fighting. So I stopped going out with him, so we wouldn't have to fight. That's what Biden is right now. He's like, look, I am. That's fair, Ben. That's fair. Withdrawing, Your Honor. But fundamentally, Biden is now saying, look, Netanyahu, I'm trying to rock with you, but you keep setting stuff off, and I don't want you to do that. But Biden has put his political future, his political bones, his political legacy, not so much his future, but his legacy, in being a stalwart ally to Israel, just like every U.S. president pretty much has done. That's why the moment for Kamala Harris is so interesting and powerful. Regardless of what Kamala Harris has said in the past, regardless of her allegiance to AIPAC, regardless of her allegiance to Israel in the past in terms of the words that she has used, now is a moment to reset relations. Now is a site of possibility to do something different. Let's see what Vice President Harris does. Let's not assume the worst. Let's see what she says. Let's see what she does. Even if she is just calling for a permanent ceasefire, not a ceasefire. She called for a ceasefire months ago, but a permanent ceasefire. If she does that, That's a hell of a sign. That is a hell of an improvement from Biden, who refuses to show, again, even an inch of daylight between the U.S. And Israel. It's not a ultimate solution, but we know what Trump's going to be, and we know what Biden has been. So we ain't got much to lose right now. Let's figure something out. But at the end of the day, Iran's response to Israel killing Ismail Haniyeh is within the bounds of international law. The nation, the global community is simply asking them to stay in that zone. But if they do, we have to expect something else. A year ago, the Middle East was as tumultuous as it always is, right? There was no reason to think that things were going to get better. But what we've seen in since October 7th has been so much worse. You know, not only have we seen a genocide in Gaza, but we've also seen Netanyahu engage in provocations against Lebanon and against Israel, and against Iran. And in doing so, you now have multiple areas. If you think about the northern border of Israel, turmoil. If you think about what's happening in the Red Sea with Ansar Allah or Houthis, turmoil. If you think what's happening in Gaza, turmoil, right? If you think about what's happening in Lebanon, turmoil. And so we are dangerously close to maybe not a World War III scenario, which is sort of what Donald Trump has been boo-hooing about or chicken littling about, but we are very close to something else. And the question is, and this is a question for you all, should the U.S. keep helping Israel and ignore Netanyahu's repeated provocations? Is it possible for Iran to retaliate against Israel without sparking a wider war? And if it isn't, should Iran do it anyway? Share your thoughts in the chat. If this is your first time joining us, also hit that subscribe button. Also hit that like button. I want to stay in the Middle East for a minute because there's another story that I think is so important that I want you all to be talking and thinking about. It's about Israeli soldiers. It's a story that's not getting nearly enough attention. Imagine turning on your TV here in the United States and seeing a congressperson, congressman, congresswoman, whatever you want to call them, actually on TV debating, right? And what they're debating is whether or not it's okay for members of the military to rape and sodomize people who are perceived to be their enemies. If I said that to you, you'd be like, nah, that's crazy. That's impossible. That would never happen. I mean, in this country, especially in the era of Trump, who knows? Maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't, but it seemed unlikely. But it did happen, just not in America. It happened in Israel, the only democracy in the Middle East. It happened in Israel, the jewel of the region. It happened in Israel, the place that's supposed to be so civilized. Well, in the Knesset, which is essentially the Congress, an exchange took place. I'm going to let you hear the exchange so that you don't think that I have somehow inflated what happened, that I'm engaging in some kind of hyperbole. I don't want you to think that. So I'm going to show you, and I put Hebrew subtitles here. I'm going to show you exactly what was said. Check this out.
אני לא יודע אם יודעים, אבל יש אירוע כרגע בשדה תימן, שמשטרה צבאית הגיעו לעצור חיילים ששמרו על מחבלי נוח'בה. טרלול שהמדינה שלנו נכנסת אליו סביב הסיפור הזה הוא מטורף וצריך להפסיק אותו. ואני חושב שצריך פה לתת דוגמה אישית, ואני אומר עכשיו, ואני קורא לחברי הקואליציה לעשות כמוני, אני קם ואני יוצא מפה, ואני לא הולך להצביע יותר על שום דבר, עד שהסיפור הזה והטרלול הזה, שיש מי שבפרקליטות חושב שאפשר לבוא ולעצור חיילים על דברים שעושים למחבלי נוח'בה, לא נגמר. להמשיך כרגיל.
להכניס מקל לרקטום של בן אדם, זה לגיטימי?
כן, אם הוא נוח'בה, הכל לגיטימי לעשות לו. הכל. הכל.
זה מה שרציתי.
הכל, האנשים האלה, אתה יודע מה עשו?
אוקיי.
טוב.
יש דברים שלא עושים.
Wow. Wow. All I can say is wow. When he asked if it was okay to literally stick a stick in someone's rectum, that seemed like a pretty easy interview moment. You just say no. He's like, gang. He literally asked a member of the Knesset, or a member of the Knesset literally argued for Israeli soldiers' right to rape Palestinians and sodomize them with a stick. I wish I could tell you that this was exceptional. I wish I could tell you that this was so rare and extremist that it doesn't merit kind of any kind of analysis. But the fact is, this is a debate that's actually happening inside of the Israeli government. 10 Israeli soldiers were detained after they were accused of gang raping a Palestinian. And security minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, a right-wing extremist and convicted person who's been convicted for all kinds of crimes, called the suspected, I shouldn't say all kinds of crimes, let me be accurate, a particular crime, but he is guilty of all kinds of crimes. Anyway, Itamar Ben-Gvir called the suspected rapists heroes. Again, he's a security minister, and he is one of the most influential voices in Netanyahu's cabinet. He said that the people who raped Palestinians, who took a stick and sodomized them, while other elected officials, Gvir called them heroes, other elected officials took part in violent protests outside the Tiemann Center, the Diamond Detention Center, which is also known by locals as a torture site. So you have some liberal Zionists out there who are like, hey, this is wrong. There's still liberal Zionists. They still ultimately believe in an apartheid state, an ethno state. So that's not clap too loud for them. But there is some pushback. But you have a huge swath of the Israeli citizenry, particularly the right wing, who think that Palestinians are not human beings. They believe that Palestinians are entitled or do whatever happens to them. Basically, if you're Palestinian and you get raped, if you're Palestinian and you get assaulted, if you're Palestinian and you get shot by the IOF, that somehow you deserved it. The idea is that Palestinians aren't full human beings. The idea here is that Palestinians aren't worthy. They don't merit the type of protection and safety and dignity that other people around the world deserve. The fact that this is a conversation happening is shameful. I remember after October 7th, when the narrative was that Hamas was just out here raping villages of Israelis and beheading villages of babies. Right? And the world was outraged by it. And the world should be outraged at that claim. Again, a claim. All those beheaded babies never seem to show up, and the evidence of mass rapes, that never showed up. Again, I'm not saying that no one was assaulted. I'm not saying no one was harmed. But the allegations were inflated for sure. But when those announcements came out, people were reasonably, and I think almost universally, outraged. How dare someone harm somebody in that way? This is wrong. But when it comes to Palestinians, that's not the case. It's not happening in the Knesset. And unfortunately, the global community isn't responding to me with as much outrage and disgust as they should, because this is happening right now in Israel. People are talking about Palestinians as barbaric, Palestinians as prone to violence, Palestinians as stubborn and all these things. Let's take those Orientalist, white supremacist frameworks away and just look at what's happening. Palestinians are catching hell everywhere, not just in Gaza, in the West Bank, inside of Israel, in the Golan, in the Sinai, wherever you at, around diaspora. But at the end of the day, Israel made an argument that it was going to be a peacemaking force, a liberating force, a force of good, a force of justice in the region. And there's just no evidence that that's happening. Anyway, if you're joining us now, make sure you hit the like button. Let us know where you're joining from in the chat. You can also hit us up on Instagram. Make sure you do that, Night School MLH. But let us know where you're writing in from. Let us know what your questions are. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Byron Donalds, that brother. Woo. Black congressman out of Florida who is riding with Donald Trump. How, Sway? How? Anyway, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Night School. I want to shout out one of our channel members, Megay62, who just gifted us 5 memberships. Family, we appreciate that. We appreciate when people come through here and make the channel stronger. When you make the channel stronger when you make the donations that you all make, whether it's super chats, whether it's super stickers, whether it's super thanks, we appreciate all of it. And those 5 memberships, hopefully you all will be able to access them, grab them. If you've been looking for a membership, snatch up them 5 and let's go. Because being a member here has its privileges for sure. Let's talk about this other person, this guy, cheese and crackers. This guy really gets my goat sometimes, man. Do y'all know Byron Donalds? Do y'all know Byron Donalds? Tell me you know Byron Donalds. Byron Donalds is a congressperson out of Florida. He was on the short list, allegedly, as a vice presidential hopeful, as a vice presidential possibility. He didn't make it, and he shouldn't have. He's mediocre, and I don't say that with any hate in my heart. I'm not like that person that be like, you know, if somebody's doing well or somebody has an opportunity, I'm like, oh, they not as fly as me. No, Byron Donalds is the classic mediocre Black Republican. Now, I'm going to be very clear. I am not saying that all Black Republicans are mediocre. There are many incredibly gifted Black Republicans. There are many gifted Black Republicans. There are many talented Black Republicans. They're smart. They're well educated. They're well informed. They have great political strategic minds. All of that I'm good with, right? I disagree with the choice to be a Republican, obviously, because I ain't one. And that I have a different political ideology, but I don't disparage people simply for looking at the world differently, is what I'm saying. But he's not that. He is the other side. He is the Black guy who would never be in the mix, who would never be on the national stage if he were a regular run-of-the-mill Democrat. If he were a regular run-of-the-mill Democrat, he would be, I don't even know if he'd be in office. But I mean, look at this guy. The guy's walking around with a Bluetooth, like an old head at a cabaret or something. You know what I mean? Like you still rocking the Bluetooth, homeboy? That should tell you everything you need to know. But that aside, pettiness aside, Byron Donalds has made it his business. He has made it his job. He has made it his life's mission, apparently, to carry the water for Donald Trump. And so that's what he does. And Mediaite ran this excellent story on what happened on Stephanopoulos, because let me tell you something. Going to Stephanopoulos is already difficult. This week is a great show. But going on there, it's tough to go in there because Stephanopoulos is going to ask you tough questions. Stephanopoulos is going to grill you. Stephanopoulos is going to make your life challenging. Stephanopoulos is not going to just let you off the hook when you don't answer a question. So that's already tough, just being anybody. But it's extra tough when you go on there defending Donald Trump. You go in there as a Trump surrogate because Trump says the wildest shit. And people like Byron Donalds have to go in there and basically make the BS that Trump says sound like it makes or made sense. And so that's what happened this week. It happened a couple times this week. First, he got jammed trying to defend Trump's ridiculous comments on Kamala Harris's race, which we've, talked about so much, but come on, bro. You actually going to defend this and say he said something that he didn't say, or say that he didn't say something that he clearly said? Well, Stephanopoulos was not letting him off the hook. And this time the letting him off the hook piece came as we were talking about, or as they were talking, I should say, about the January 6th riots. I'll let you take a listen or a look for yourself.
At their own leisure. I'll read it to you right now. This was Rachel Scott's question. My question is on those rioters who assaulted officers. Would you pardon those people? Oh, absolutely, I would. That's his words.
Yes, but you did not leave in was the rest of his comments where he said, "Yeah, I would, but we want to look at everything on a case-by-case basis."
So let's look at this for a second. You see the stuttering and the stammering that happens immediately. It's like you got to defend Donald Trump. And specifically what he's defending is Donald Trump going to the NABJ convention. And at the NABJ convention, the National Association of Black Journalists Convention, Donald Trump said that he would consider pardoning, he would pardon, the rioters from January 6th. And he said, basically, if they're innocent, I'll pardon them. Here's the problem. They're not innocent. They've all been convicted. So if he's talking about a legal standard, that doesn't make sense. But Donald Trump was basically trying to signal to white America and to racist America and to MAGA America that he supports what happened on January 6th by saying, I'll pardon everybody. That's the angle he's taking. And when he's being challenged on it, he says, oh, well, I'll, if they're innocent, which sounds great. If you're innocent, I won't convict you. But the problem is they've already been convicted. So this is not about, and you can overturn things and you can do all kinds of things. You can do anything on the federal level as president when it comes to this. But it seemed that Trump wasn't trying to find the one or two people who was railroaded or accidentally wrongfully incarcerated. He was basically trying to get out of jail free pass to everybody, case by case basis. But let's listen to Mr. Byron Donalds tap dance his way out of this one.
That's what will happen, George.
No, that's not what he said. He said if they were innocent, I would pardon them. They've all been convicted. He said he would pardon those who assaulted police officers. Do you support that or not?
George, you just changed the soundbite. You just changed it. Now you added, if they're innocent, then I will pardon them. So
two things happen here. First, George Stephanopoulos did an excellent job of reading Trump's words back to him, cross-examining him with Trump's own words. And he asked a very direct question. Are you okay with this? This is a yes or no question. Trump's going to pardon them. And he says, if they're innocent, but they've all been convicted. Now, Donalds, instead of answering the question, notice he never answers the question. Whenever he's defending Trump, he never answers the question. All he does is lie, get caught in a lie, pretend he didn't just say what he said, and when you corner him about the lie, he says, why are you talking about this when there's so much more important stuff we could be talking about? So then you look like you're petty for trying to hold him accountable for the lie. He is the classic gaslighter. He is the classic bullshitter. Watch him try to get out of the Stephanopoulos thing. And now he's saying that Stephanopoulos added language. He's saying that Trump never said, if they're innocent, I'll pardon them. Except here's the problem. Trump did say that. And Stephanopoulos has a transcript right there.
Let's go back to the record of January 6th. Again, not something that
I didn't change the soundbite. That's exactly what he said. They've been convicted.
George, the first thing you said was, yes, I'll pardon them. Then you expanded.
And he said that.
Say, if they are innocent, then yes, I will. That's what you said, George. Now I'm responding. Okay. So what he's saying is that, yeah, I will go and look at these cases. If they're innocent, yes, I will. Of course, if somebody was beating up a police officer at January 6th, he's not going to do that. But if you had people who were just walking through the Capitol, which did occur on January 6th, because the security protocols had changed because of that riot at the Capitol, then what he would do is not allow them to be held in jail with these massively increased charges by the current U.S. attorney in D.C. under the Biden-Harris administration. Compare that to the fact that at the rally that the riots that just occurred at Union Station when Bibi Netanyahu was speaking to Congress, you had the same U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia who decided to just let people go and not file any charges, even though they were defacing monuments at Union Square.
So again, this is a classic move. I need y'all to pay attention to these classic moves. All right, again, he considers George. He says, George, you're wrong, you're lying, and then he changes the subject so that George can't hold him accountable for what he just said, and then he immediately then does what the right has done all week, which is to suggest that the protests in D.C. in response to Benjamin Netanyahu are similar to the insurrection that took place on January 6th. They are apples and oranges. He's saying, but he's trying to paint it as a double standard, as if, well, the whole world's mad at what happened, but they're ignoring what happened last week. And it's like, nah, bro, that ain't it. They're mad about January 6th. You were actually trying to overthrow the government. They're mad because you were actually assaulting public servants, because you're actually destroying public property. You're trying to literally carry out acts of violence and even murder on public officials. You're trying to take over offices that are federally protected. I mean, January 6th was a complete disaster. And you're comparing that to people writing on limestone, and they're saying, free Palestine. They're saying free Palestine. What do you want? Like, are you kidding me? Apples and oranges. But all of this is an attempt to deflect from what Trump actually said.
So we want to be fair with the justice system. We don't want to be political with the justice system.
My question is on those riders who assaulted officers. Would you pardon those people? Donald Trump. Oh, absolutely, I would. You wouldn't pardon those? If they were innocent, I would pardon them. That is the entire quote. They are not innocent. They are convicted. He said he would pardon them.
Now, this is where I love George Stephanopoulos, and this is something that I do as an interviewer as well. I'm not letting it go. What Republicans, all politicians do this, but Republicans are really good at this. They feel like if they just ignore your question 3 or 4 times, you'll look crazy for continuing to ask it. You'll look petty or distracted or majoring in the minor if you keep going. So he's just basically like, I'll outlast you in this interview. I'll just keep not answering until you get tired. And then you try to distract him with the ridiculous, DC comparison. But Stephanopoulos says, nope, here's what you said. I'm going to read it. Do you agree with it? Putting them on the spot. This is classic interviewing. It's excellent. Excellent work.
And George, what I'm telling you is he's going to go back and look at these cases, because it is without a doubt. And look, January 6th is a very painful memory in our country, but it is without a doubt that the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia was supercharging these people because of political viewpoints. Because you had other riots that have occurred in Washington, D.C., where the charges were minimized or dismissed altogether. That is not an even-handed system of justice. That is a politically motivated system of justice. And you don't have to look any further than the difference between how the Department of Justice has treated Donald Trump versus how the Department of Justice has treated Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton. What he is talking about is equal enforcement of the law, not picking and choosing because of your politics.
I would remind you that this Department of Justice actually indicted Hunter Biden, the president's son. And of course, we were talking about assaults on police officers, people who were convicted for assaults on police officers, which the president has said he would pardon them. Thank you very much for your time.
George, I just
joined now by our political analysts, Donna Brazil and Chris Christie. Thank you all for coming in.
George is a G for that, man. He's like, look, I'm still going to get the last word. I'm still going to remind you that you're full of shit, and then I'm going to hang up on you. Love to see it. No, that it could not have happened to a better person or a worse person, right? Byron Donalds is the worst kind of Black Republican. He, again, supports and endorses causes and politicians like Donald Trump because they're good for him. He is dishonest. You can see as he's talking that he doesn't believe this ridiculousness. Look at him on Bill Maher, same thing. Bill Maher's like, you had to sit there and listen to this shit. And he cracks up laughing. Why? Because, or inside, he smirks and tries not to laugh on the outside. And the reason is because he knows better. But he knows that if he's just, a mediocre Negro running for office, it's unimportant. But if he's a mediocre Negro running for Republican office, oh, it's up. Right now he might be somebody totally different. All right, family, we got to get out of here. But I wanted to at least say a couple more things. Excuse me. One of those things is our sort of capacity for putting up with ridiculousness is, I think, waning. Not because we're so much more sophisticated or so much more mature as a society, but we just have so much to think and talk about that, like, the ridiculous stuff is stuff that we can't even deal with. It's at least that's how I think about it. I've been watching this Donald Trump story, and I want you all to pay attention to it. I'm mentioning it not because I care about Donald Trump or this part of Donald Trump's life, but because I think that there is a way that we might underappreciate the ridiculousness that's going on in Trump's DC and how he's basically setting us up not just for a dictatorship, but for a very almost like dictator mode in terms of the amount of backdoor deals, the amount of money being siphoned away from him, his own Anyway, that's another story for another time. Donald Trump has been called many things: traitor, rapist, racist, con man, grifter, just to name a few. And for those of you who might doubt his motivation to become president again, hey, some good reasons. A million of them, in fact. Beginning in October, 1 month before the election, membership to Mar-a-Lago is going to cost, get this, y'all, $1 million. $1 million. $1 million for membership to Mar-a-Lago. But you're going to have to act fast, by the way, because apparently there's only 4 spots left for this so rare offer. And this is like a 43% hike from the normal fee for Mar-a-Lago, which is $700,000. Now, you could say this is a non-story, Mark. This is just inflation. Okay, maybe it is. The 43% hike is a lot. You're talking about $700,000 normally, now it's $1 million. It could be just inflation, but ethics watchdogs are sounding off the alarm for sure, because it gives the appearance that the former president is selling access and information should he get back to the White House. Let's not forget what took place at Mar-a-Lago last time that Trump was president. He openly conducted presidential business with leaders like Xi Jinping of China, which of course creates national security risks. So we have to make some serious decisions. Should you be able to run for president and be selling $1 million memberships? Is this just a backdoor way for billionaires and the billionaire class to get their money funneled to Trump? I don't know. But it seems unwise. It seems unsafe. And it's more money than I'll ever have to even think about getting a membership. So it's a non-issue for me. But for those of you who can, y'all rich folk, y'all think about it. Anyway, one last story. Actually, how can I put it? You know what? I won't. I'll just let you watch. But we're going to take a quick break and we'll come back. We'll talk a little bit about Charlamagne the God and his recent statement that he won't rule out politics, in particular running for political office. We'll see you soon. All right, family, welcome back to Night School. I gotta play this for y'all, man. I am fascinated by this story and by this exchange, and I want to make sure that you all are plugged into it as well. Charlamagne the God, who you all know for his radio show, The Breakfast Club, which he does with DJ Envy and Jess Hilarious. Shout out to both of them. He has been a prominent voice talking about Joe Biden, who he said he would not endorse. He might vote for him, but he's not endorsing him, to Kamala Harris, who he seems to be endorsing. And he's been influential in the culture for a long time. He has this great interview with LL Cool J that's out there right now on his out of context video series here on YouTube. Lots of dope stuff. But Charlamagne has been asked about maybe a new line of work, the realm of politics. Here's what he said.
Ever consider being on the ballot yourself? Would you ever run for public office?
I do not know why this question has been coming up a lot lately. Like, people have been asking me this, not even just nobody. I don't think anybody's ever asked me in an interview. Not that I can remember, but just randomly people have been saying things like that to me. And once again, I don't know. I am not a person that, you know, will rule anything out, because I was born in 1978. And one thing I've learned about life is that you just never know. Like, there's positions that I'm in now that I cannot believe I'm in this position. So you just never know what God has planned, and you know, you don't rule anything out. Like, I'm the type of person that I truly want to be of service. Like, you know, that's what I want to spend the rest of my life doing. I want to.
So Charlamagne said that he wants to spend the rest of his life in service. He's not ruling anything out. It's a hell of a question. Is Charlamagne somebody you'd want to see in public office? Now, before y'all rule it out and say no, we've had people, you know, go from the comedy stage or TV to the Senate, the House, or, you know, governorship, whatever. We've seen pro wrestlers do it. We've seen lots of people do it. Why not get somebody who has the analysis? And I'm not saying Charlamagne has the right analysis for what you'd want to vote for him for. But we elect a lot of celebrities, so don't rule it out. If you don't think he should be your celebrity choice, then I think what you need to do is make sure you stay with the grassroots politician. Make sure you stay with the politician of record. Make sure that you vote and organize so these people don't get chosen for you. If he's the person you would choose, then draft him. Bring him up. I know a lot of times you say, well, he ain't got this degree, he ain't got that. I'm not talking about Charlamagne in particular now anymore. I'm saying for all of the people who we work with, think about what it means to hire everyday people. Think about, of course, there are advantages of getting someone with a fancy degree and somebody who has a lot of political experience, but there's also something about the citizen representative. That's an exciting idea as well. Find people who we know, who care about us, and who will respect our interests and protect our interests, and you got something there. And shout out to Charlamagne if that's what he wants to do. If not, that's okay. There's plenty of people that want to run for office. We're going to find one. We're going to draft one, and we're going to make them accountable to us, because that's what it's all about. Anyway, y'all, thank you for watching Night School. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the like button. Please hit that like button. It increases our footprint in the social media space. Also, hit that subscribe button. When you hit subscribe, it makes our footprint larger as well. It doesn't just take up space, though. It tells them algorithms that y'all are rocking with us. So just keep that deeply and firmly in your brain. Of course, if you're so inclined, hit the join button. I'm going to remind y'all that this is like the first of the month for us. We are in our fundraising part of the month more than normal. We are excited to be here. We are loving that it's political season. We are loving that Joe Biden ain't going up for re-election. We are proud of what we do here every night, from raising critical consciousness to asking the toughest questions, to putting a spotlight on misery that's often ignored. We try to do all the things, but to do all the things, we need your support. So please consider going to the membership button in the description, or go and hit the join button if you're on the desktop and become a monthly subscriber to the channel. It doesn't matter what level, doesn't matter any of that. We just want you there, and we love your financial support and all the love and care that goes into it. Also, if you're so inclined, please feel free to make a one-time donation. I say that to say some people can't commit to $3.99 a month or $5.99 or $10.99, whatever it is, but you might be able to make a one-time payment. So I'm asking people right now, if you love the work we do here, if you love Night School Monday to Friday at 9 p.m., if you love the classroom and the cell on the weekends, if you love Coffee and Books on the weekends, Coffee and Books on Saturday at 9, classroom and the cell Sunday at 9. And if you love office hours, we just had a great office hours with Professor Trisha Rose yesterday talking about race and racialization and racial inequality in relation to Vice President Kamala Harris and other things. We want to be there for you every day, and we continue to be there for you every day. But we need your help. We don't have corporate media dollars. I'm fighting an uphill battle against corporate media. We can't do this without you. We don't have a billionaire writing a check for us. This channel, this station, this show thrives when you invest in us. And I'm asking you to think about it. Of course, if everybody watching right now were to donate, that would be amazing. But the truth is, everybody's not going to do that. But if many of you can make a donation, what we call tuition, just for the month, forget about the membership for a second, just a tuition for the month, we will be able to meet our financial goals. If everybody watching right now were to send $10 to us, whether it's via Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle, if everybody were to send $10, we would meet all of our financial goals. We'd be able to pay all of our employees. We'd be able to build that new studio. We'd be able to move forward. But again, we need your support. So consider hitting Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle to help us make that happen. I want to, before we go, I'm seeing some more extraordinary generosity that I have to shout out because I'm so grateful. Boy, so much love coming in. I want to shout out Vivienne Ruta-Beginwa, who just sent us a super sticker for $49.99. That's how we keep the channel going. Thank you so much. Boosting Boaz Kim's music question. I gotta find Boaz Kim's music. Here we go. No, that's not a music question. Am I confusing something? Oh, the music is part of the name. I'm slow. Thank y'all. Please have a class on VP Harris's past record, current record on U.S. policies and Israel, Middle East. How do people pressure her instead of giving her a vote? That's a great question. I think I'm happy to cover her record and talk about it, particularly after she gets the VP, because the position will be locked and we can talk. I think you have to apply pressure, but in things that are attainable. You know, saying to any U.S. president or sitting or incumbent or whatever, and say, hey, I need you to put Israel in his place. You know, I need you to put Putin in his place. You know, I need you to put Russia in his place. You know, there's certain things just they don't work, right? So if you ask from Kamala Harris to do those things, it's a non-starter. You don't get anything. So I think the key is to say, hey, look, we're going to vote for you, or we're considering voting for you. Excuse me, not we're going to. We're considering voting for you, but we need to know where you stand on these issues. And if she starts to see that pattern, she'll start to adjust. She's a very smart woman. She'll start to make the adjustment. Wow. I'm just so overwhelmed by your generosity. Again, I know you don't have to do this, but I believe you are committed to this channel thriving. I know you all love the work that we do, or at least like it. And we're going to keep doing it no matter what. But yeah, anyway, I could go on and on, but just thank you all. Thank you all. There's more questions coming in real quick. I'm going to answer them. Old Grease gifted 10 memberships. Shout out to you for gifting 10 memberships to the channel. Hopefully, as you all snatch up these memberships, y'all get used to what they provide and y'all want to extend beyond. Let's see. VP Harris hosted a showing of Screams Before Woods last June at the White House. It is a propaganda film about October 7th. She did, not Joe. That's super important. I don't know that story. I've heard that some things were shown in the White House, but I don't know exactly who's responsible for it or what those things were. So I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying I need to read in on that, because I don't want to support something that's wrong. It's that simple. There seems to be one more coming. Oh, just want to give a last quick shout out to Cori Bush. Since her primary election is tomorrow, St. Louis, we got to win this. Look, y'all, the odds are supposed to be against Cori Bush right now. They say that her opponent is outspending, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the power of the people can make anything happen. Organized people defeat organized power every single time. So let's try to... I see your comments coming in. Yes, shout out to Cori Bush. They're trying to knock her out. AIPAC is funding this, and affiliate organizations are trying to do to her what they did to Jamal Bowman. But we're not going out, and we're certainly not going out without a fight. So let's stand up. If you're from Minnesota, vote. If you're not, help to organize the vote, help to draw attention to it, get people who are there to do what they have to do, because we need Cori Bush. We need Cori Bush. Cori Bush is a St. Louis legend. She's a Ferguson legend. And she's in the fight of her life, but she can win, and hopefully she does win. All right, y'all. Thank you for watching Night School. I'm going to take my black behind the bed after I eat. But I love talking to y'all. I'm excited to be here with y'all, and I can't wait to talk to you tomorrow about that new vice presidential choice. I'm hoping it's Waltz. See y'all later. Peace.